All right, today we are diving deep, and I mean deep, into the metaphysical bones of Athelgard to get our heads around one of its most foundational and, frankly, terrifying figures, Wotan. First things first, you need to just completely erase the image you have of the wise, one-eyed god from Norse mythology. Because in the world of Ethelgard, Wotan is something else entirely, something way more primal and infinitely more dangerous. This quote right here, this is the absolute key to unlocking who he is. Wotan's whole deal isn't about wisdom or ruling over anything. It's about an affirmation, a yes to his own will that is so absolute, so violent, it just obliterates everything in its path, including the very person who's doing the willing. Okay, so let's really get into it. Who, or maybe more accurately, what is Wotan in this world? He's less of a character and more of a cosmic event that happened. See, he isn't a god in any way we'd recognize. You have to think of him as the very idea of willpower made real, a force so powerful that its very existence is a rupture, a tear in the fabric of reality. He's the prototype, the successful and absolutely terrifying precursor to figures like Derville. He is the most extreme, radical conclusion of Nietzsche's Übermensch, the overman. This is what you get when you take the idea of self-overcoming to its absolute final step, where the self isn't just improved or transcended, it's totally annihilated to make room for pure, raw, unfiltered power. And what's so fascinating is how you can almost define him by how other major forces react to him. For Dervilla, he's that scary older brother who proved the impossible could be done. For the pale cynic, a being of pure no, Wotan is the only thing it's afraid of. And Squifle, the demon of doubt, Wotan didn't beat him, he just absorbed him and turned his own inner doubt into a weaponized berserker rage. Now, to really understand what Wotan became, we have to look at the foundational and, let's be honest, horrifying ritual he performed on himself. So, you know the story of Odin hanging on the world tree? Well, here, that gets a massive rewrite. This wasn't some noble sacrifice to gain knowledge for mankind. No, it was a conscious, brutal act of self-liquidation. It was self-murder, plain and simple. He didn't hang from a physical tree, get this. He hung himself from the very concept of logic itself. And he used his own will, personified as the spear Gungnir, to pierce his own eye, his ego, his identity, his self, until that small, limited being died. And what was born in its place? The mad Rune King. As he fell from that conceptual noose into the abyss of his own subconscious, he found it, the source code of reality, the mad runes. And these aren't letters, they're the fundamental building blocks of existence itself. By seizing them, he went from being someone who observes reality to someone who dictates its terms. So, what crawled out of that abyss after the ritual? That's what's known as the Shadow Allfather. And let me tell you, the price for that kind of power was incredible. Here's the thing, his ritual worked. It was a 100% success. But in merging his personal ego with the absolute, he went through this kind of metaphysical hyperinflation. He completely lost any sense of good and evil, trading his moral compass for what you could only call aesthetic justification. If an act was powerful and grand, it was good. End of story. And this table just illustrates that trade-off perfectly. The old myths say he sacrificed his eye for wisdom. Here, he didn't just lose it, he gave it to the pale cynic as a bribe. He traded away his human vision, little things like empathy, a sense of time, mortality, to gain primal sight, the ability to see the universe's source code, the runes humming behind the illusion of the world. This means he doesn't think like we do anymore. He runs on something called ecstatic reason. It's a kind of logic that short-circuits rational thought directly into a lust for battle, a state of creative intoxication. He doesn't make plans. He doesn't have strategies. He just is. He is the storm. But this immense storm-like power came with an equally profound cost. And the best way to understand that cost is through something called the Wotan Shadow Parable. His whole victory led him to one simple, devastating thesis. I have overcome myself. Therefore, I am the law. He believed his will was the only law that mattered. So he didn't just try to bend reality, he shattered it, planning to build himself a throne out of the broken pieces. But you can't just break reality without it pushing back, right? The universe itself recoiled from his touch. It created its own metaphysical antibodies to try and stop him, to counteract his violent yes.
And these antibodies took the form of beings of pure doubt and negation, like Scafel and the Pale Cynic. Now, here is the absolutely terrifying part. Wotan wasn't defeated, he didn't lose. He simply departed. He achieved what's called a terrible freedom. He became the king of a void of his own making, all-powerful, but totally alone, forever pursued by the spirit of gravity that is the Pale Cynic.
So you might be wondering, okay, ancient god, departed, king of a void, why does he still matter so much in Æthelgard? Now, what's his legacy?
Because he is the ultimate, terrifying proof of concept. For anyone like DeVille walking that same razor's edge, Wotan is the living or unliving proof that this insane ritual for absolute power can actually be survived. But the price tag is non-negotiable. It will cost you your humanity. That raw, untamed, reality-breaking power that Wotan became, well, it's still around. It's a force of nature. He is the lightning bolt of primordial will that Der Wille is now desperately trying to capture and contain. In his Shisokan, hoping against hope, he can use the power without paying the ultimate price. And so Wotan remains. He's the unknown god, just lurking in the background radiation of reality. His entire story is both a terrible warning and a dark, seductive temptation, just waiting for anyone on that path to finally let go, to give in, and to join him in the glorious madness of the absolute. And that really leaves us with this one final, chilling question. In the relentless pursuit of absolute power, of the ultimate expression of will, is the complete annihilation of the self an unavoidable and perhaps completely insane final step? What does it even mean to win if there's no you left to enjoy the victory?